Hello, it's good to be with you. Our topic for today is overcoming gluttony through moderation, sobriety, and self-control. How many sermons in a church somewhere have you heard on the vice of gluttony? Probably not too many, particularly in North America. This is one of our acceptable vices. We're not terribly concerned about how much we're eating or how often we're eating and how that might affect our relationship with God. Food for thought. Food for thought. Hadn't thought of that. So some of you might be familiar with the Enneagram. So there's different numbers on the ideogram. It's like a psychological test. So I was taking this test by myself first. And the result of the test was, Chris, you're a 7. Well, what's a 7? A 7 is somebody who likes to be with people, likes to joke, likes to have a good time, likes parties. And surely a 7 likes to eat and likes to drink. I love donuts. I don't eat donuts very often. When I was younger, in the grips in all likelihood of gluttony of some kind, I could go to Dunkin' Donuts and buy 6 donuts, and there's some voice inside of me saying, Chris, just eat 2. But I'm telling you, a frosted chocolate really tastes good. And so I'd eat the first frosted chocolate. Man, that was good. I'd eat the second frosted chocolate. Oh man, that was really good. How about a double chocolate? There's one in the box. And I'd eat the double chocolate. And before long, I would realize I've just deposited 4,000 calories in my body. Why? Because I had a desire for food. It was fun to eat. I was enjoying what I was tasting. The desire for food is good. It's what we might call an ordered desire. An ordered desire. All human beings need nourishment. The danger is we can take a good, and because of a disordered desire, it morphs into something that's harming us rather than helping us. Now, here's the thing. Well, what in the world does this have to do with God? I have a friend, Rebecca DeYoung. She talks about feeding your face and starving your soul. Ever find yourself doing that or in danger of doing that? Of substituting food, perhaps in a time of crisis, just for the comfort that food offers, and your spiritual life dwindles a little bit? Here's another one from Frederick Buechner. Some of you might have read Buechner. A glutton is someone who raids the icebox for spiritual nourishment. You know, I'll give you an example from my own life. I've talked about this a little bit before. My wife right now is in a period of illness. I don't know what's going to happen. And when she was in the hospital a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would visit with her at the hospital. I could visit with her from 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And then I'd head home. That house was empty. Someone wasn't there who should be there. And I found myself saying, a Haagen-Dazs bar would taste really good right now. So sometimes we speak of comfort food. Now, comfort food's fine, but not if I come back from a local store with a package of 6 Haagen-Dazs bars and devour one after another. Do you get Rebecca's point and Buechner's point? Sometimes we can use a very good thing, food, nourishment, Haagen-Dazs, a very good thing, but it becomes a substitute for dealing with a very difficult situation, grief, anger, depression, in a way that's not helpful to us. Let me tell you about a monk that we know very little about, and there's a reason why we know very little about him. His name was Brother Benjamin. Brother Benjamin wanted to make an impression on his community. So in the desert, with the desert dwellers, they oftentimes would fast. They could fast for 1 day, they might fast for 2 days, and then those who were quite disciplined, they might even fast for 3 days. The general rule was, though, you don't completely forego food. You'd be given 2 biscuits, and at the end of the day, sun going down, you'd eat your 2 biscuits. Next day, period of fasting, you would get your 2 biscuits and eat your 2 biscuits at the end of the day. Well, here's what Brother Benjamin would do. At the end of his first day, he wouldn't eat those 2 biscuits. He'd just store them away. And people started observing, oh, what a disciplined monk. At the end of the second day, he'd store those 2 biscuits away. Now he's got 4 biscuits stored away. And then if he particularly wanted to impress people, he might go for an extra day. Now he's got 6 biscuits, which for a desert dweller would be a substantial meal. And then when the sun would go down, Brother Benjamin would stuff himself. One of the Abbas who was observing comments this way: by eating 4 biscuits, Brother Benjamin enjoyed as much as he wanted. From our modern perspective, we might think, well, 4 biscuits, that's not much. I need more than 4 biscuits. But from a desert monastic perspective, that was a substantial amount. So Benjamin's 2-day fast, his Abba says, served as preparation for filling his stomach to excess. Those last 2 words are important. To excess. To excess. But poor Brother Benjamin was trying to create an impression. He wasn't a disciplined image bearer. He was creating an impression, and then when the rubber hit the road, he stuffed himself. He stuffed himself. And his Abba spotted it. Well, sadly, Brother Benjamin left the community and went back to Alexandria, as far as we know. He went back to the city. He gave up on the life in the desert because he was creating an impression, suffering from a disordered desire rather than an ordered desire. And finally, it was just too much to continue to make the impression. So we're back in our living room, modern world, door opens. Brother Benjamin doesn't walk into the living room. His Abba does. And he, after pleasantries, he asked the question, in what areas of your life, not simply food, but in what areas of your life are your desires for a good thing out of control? Yeah, think of it this way. In what areas do you desire too much of a good thing? Too much of a good thing. Ponder that with me. Too much of a good thing. What do you think? Now, now let's just talk about fasting from food for a second. Not everybody should fast from food. Some of us have health issues. We shouldn't fast from food. Some of us have struggles with eating an appropriate amount of food. We shouldn't be fasting from food. Before you ever think about fasting, you should consult your physician. And then, like all things in a healthy spiritual life, don't bite off more than you can handle. So I'll share with you, I don't share with everybody, I'll share with you how I usually will conduct fasting in my own life. So generally speaking, in the past, when it gets to be Wednesday evening, 5 o'clock in the evening, maybe a little bit later, I'll have an evening meal, and then I won't eat again until 5 o'clock the next day. And when I first started fasting, I've been doing it for a long time. When I first started fasting, to go 2 hours without food, you would have thought the world was coming to an end. I'm going to die. I'm hungry. My stomach is saying, feed me, meet my needs. But over time, after 15, 20 years, my body has adapted itself to not always needing to eat when it wants to eat. And I think that's helped me. I think I've actually matured a little bit. It's a natural 7. But believe me, the desire is still there, and I have to discipline the desire. I want it to remain ordered rather than disordered. How might I have a more ordered relationship with something that is a part of my life every day? Eating is part of our life every day. Can I begin to, in wise, simple, slow ways, cut down my desire for food so that it becomes more ordered rather than disordered? Here's an idea. The next time you're thinking about perhaps eating too much, or perhaps even eating, how about just taking a break for 15 minutes or so, and rather than eating for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it might be, just say a short prayer and fill up that eating space with a short prayer, or allow that hunger to be a bell going off. You haven't talked to Deb for a while, Chris. Why not sit down and talk with her? How's her day going? Or how maybe one of the kids are over. How about a conversation? Think of substituting something that's really good and important for something that's less important. I think that's a fun idea. And then I want to leave you with a key question. I've asked it before in our time together. A key question would be, in what areas of my life do I know in my heart of hearts, if I'm being honest with myself, in what areas of my life do I habitually want too much of a good thing? And just offer that to the Lord. He'll know what to do with that particular issue. So I taught a course on spiritual formation, and some of the ideas are related to what we're talking about together. It was a large class, had 230 students in the class. That's a big class. The class was at 8:30 in the morning, so most of the students are semi-comatose when I show up. They'd just taken their midterm examination. They had not done well, and I was not pleased. I had to come up with some way to help them with their grade, because there was quite a few who were in danger of not graduating, for example. I said a quick prayer, Lord, how could I help these folks? What idea could I come up with? I've mentioned before we can fast from other things. And so I got to the front of the class, I looked out at the class, and at first I said, well, you did not do well. They began to stir. Some began to sit up a little bit. So here's what I did. I came up with this idea within 15 seconds, and the idea was a media fast. A media fast. So what I said to them, I'll tell you what I'll do. Go on a media fast for the next 8 weeks. That's a long time. A media fast for the next 8 weeks, and I'll raise your grade by 5%. And of course, they want to know, well, what's a media fast? So off the top of my head, I said this: no television, no radio, no CDs, no music on your cell phone, no Twitter, and there are audible sighs now amongst the students, some looking a little bit angry with me. I kept saying no to everything. And I thought probably 2 or 3 students are going to take me up on this. So out of 250 students, 41 took me up on it. And then I said, now it's not enough to do the media fast. I want you journaling about the media fast. I want you journaling about what you're experiencing. What I was trying to do, I sensed that with media, which is a good thing in many ways, with media, they had a disordered relationship with media rather than an ordered relationship with media. I sensed their lives were too busy, moving too fast. They always frequently saying to me, Dr. Hall, I don't have time to do all you're asking me to do. And what did they say to me when it was all done? We would talk about it over those 8 weeks. What did they say to me when it was all done? Dr. Hall, I was really anxious at the beginning. I was anxious because the world was so quiet. It was so quiet, and I felt my hand reaching for my cell phone. I felt my hand reaching to turn on or pop in a CD. So I was anxious for the first few days. But Mo said, as they entered into that media fast, they realized, I have a lot more time than I thought I had. Sleeping patterns regularized. Students, generally speaking, don't get enough sleep. Sleeping patterns regularized. Some students experienced an appropriate weight loss. Anxiety levels dropped rather than rose after that initial period. So the semester draws to a close, and students commented on how this was something that they wanted to continue to practice in their relationship with media, a more wise, a more paced relationship to the media. I continued to teach this class. Other students on campus would hear about that media fast, and it caught their interest. It caught their interest because what they would normally do to themselves, who were not on the fast, they could no longer do if they wanted to hang out with their friends. So the university newspaper one spring, in block black letters, right across the front page, it's that time of year again. And the whole university had picked up on this idea of relating to good things in an ordered way rather than a disordered way. I sense that Brother Benjamin's Abba would have been smiling. See you soon.